I have a boyfriend, about 27, 28, both of them. I've been dating for a year. We split the cost of nearly everything. He won't even buy me coffee without me asking. He's extremely frugal to the point where he only buys certain vegetables based on the sale price or splitting a cocktail. He nickel and dimes me for everything. Dating for a year. I am increasingly bothered by this. I think the moment that was a tipping point for me was when he wanted us to split the cost of a Plan B when a condom broke during sex. And he even brought it up to me again the following morning.
It's just an unattractive trait. Like, dude, like, if you're gonna nickel and dime me for every little thing, I'm gonna look at you different. It's just a reality of it.
So you say that there should be a goal. That there needs to be a reason as to
100%. Yeah, like,
justify.
at the end of the day, nothing is guaranteed. You can walk down the street tomorrow and get hit by a bus.
All right, I'm gonna do it.
Way to go, Jack!
And then now the last thing you were dealing with is splitting a fucking Plan B pill. Like, it's like, dude, come on, like, the bigger like, look at the bigger picture. But it has to be a goal of mine. But you just being cheap just for the sake of it, I kind of have a little bit of a problem with that. What's up, everybody?
Got another story for you this week. Some relationship advice, seeing if you can help somebody out today, okay?
Good.
So, story starts. I don't know how to deal with my cheap boyfriend. Okay? Before we begin, if you have any stories of yourself or any questions that you have, you need some advice, we're here to assist you with our own candid responses, okay? So this person says, I have a boyfriend, about 27, 28, both of them.
Okay.
I've been dating for a year. We split the cost of nearly everything. He won't even buy me coffee without me asking. He's extremely frugal to the point where he only buys certain vegetables based on the sale price or splitting a cocktail. He nickel and dimes me for everything. Dating for a year. I am increasingly bothered by this. I think the moment that was a tipping point for me was when he wanted us to split the cost of a Plan B when a condom broke during sex. And he even brought it up to me again the following morning. He says he wants to stay with me for the long term, but I'm not sure. I think we make a good match other than how cheap he is. I make less than 75K. He makes about 90K for work and probably another 80K from day trading. So maybe 150, 170 in total. He says he wants to be with me long term, like marriage, but I just don't know anymore. I know he'll provide for kids well with his frugality, but as a girlfriend, I just don't feel like I'm being cared for properly. I sometimes buy him gifts and treat him, but he mostly just treats me on my birthday. He's not sweeping me off my feet, and I'm not even a materialistic person. I dress simply and don't covet designer or luxury items. We have an international trip planned for August, and I know I'll have to buy everything on my own. I think the thing that bothers me the most is that when I treat him, he accepts, but whenever he pays for something, he keeps a running tab in his mind.
Oh, no.
Also, I want to go to medical school, and he seems to be talking me out of it due to the length of training. He recently told me he'd stick with me if I did nursing, but not if I wanted to go to medical school. Okay. Yeah. What would you say?
There's more, or is this kind of how?
That's it. We have people commenting, breakup. There's a saying, mean with money, mean with love. He will not change, and it will be doing you.
Yes.
It'll be you doing all the compromising.
Yes, I agree.
I want to go to medical school. This man does not want you to be great. He's not frugal. He's a cheapskate. Leave him. There are plenty of fish in the sea.
Yes.
You really want to be married to a man that you have to beg in order for him to buy shoes for your kids? Wants you to split the cost of your wedding ring? Wears you down so much that you just pay for everything? That's your future.
Yeah.
Exactly what I was thinking. Seems things could get very difficult if you ever combine finances. Splitting a Plan B is diabolical.
Yeah, listen, frugality could be a virtue, and it could be a great way to accomplish certain financial goals. And you want to be with a man, you want to be with somebody, a partner that has a financial vision, but there's a difference between like financially responsible and being like a cheap bastard. And this guy is not being financially responsible; he's just being a cheap ass. And
he makes pretty good money.
Yeah, but even then, so like, more reason for him to be like, okay, like have common sense when it comes to the finances, like splitting a plan B, really, dude? Or like like nitpicking at every little thing, to me that's a little bit crazy. And you're just girlfriend and boyfriend, right? Imagine when you're married and stuff like that. Like, it's just not a nice feeling to feel like every single penny is being like tracked and this and that. Like, it's one thing if you tell me, hey, listen, like, let's focus on, listen, getting this done, or paying off this, that, or whatever. We have a financial goal. We're just gonna hustle, whatever. Like, I've been there. Trust me, I get it. But that is next level. Like, you have to find a middle ground, right? And when it comes to finances, the middle ground is usually where you have the longevity. But that is to the extreme where I would say, listen, this is not somebody that you're on the same page with financially, and your life cannot look like, if you don't want your life to look like this, like, we always talk about red flags and like, yo, this is a huge red flag where you got to acknowledge that and be like, hey, maybe we're not on the same page. And that's fine, but this is not a viable solution, in my opinion.
Yeah, it kind of does suck, because I mean, at the end of the day, like,
Sucks.
if you want to get married long term, right, you're eventually gonna have to combine your finances, and at that point, it's both of your monies, but both of those monies need to be used. You know what I mean? Like, at that
Yeah.
point, again, what are you gonna say? Be like, no, you know what? Don't touch it from our money. That's gonna be out of your money. Don't touch the money that we have.
Yeah.
You know, so you're gonna have basically like almost a micromanager overseeing like everything.
Yeah.
It's like, it's not fun. I know of someone that they were in a relationship with somebody, and it got to the point that they were so, wouldn't even want to say frugal, but they would nitpick almost every expense, to the point that they would make an Excel sheet of everything that they paid for on the trip in order for it to be allocated to the right person, down to a chapstick. So it's like, oh no, yeah, we bought the chapstick. It was like maybe like a 99 cents, $1.99, whatever the hell. And it's like on the Excel sheet to be like, oh yeah, but that's yours. Like, you have to pay me back for that, because it's yours. You paid for the chapstick.
Insane. That's
It gets to the
insane.
point that it's like, even to that point. Because I mean, like, granted, there are certain things that it's like, okay, like, yeah, you do need to pay for your shit yourself, but
Yes.
you also need to treat your person. You
Yeah,
want to make them feel
100%.
special, especially if that's your person. But like shit like that, down to like a chapstick, or down to like the smallest
It's just
thing.
petty stuff. Like, at that point,
Plan
like,
B.
it's just an unattractive trait. Like, dude, like, if you're gonna nickel and dime me for every little thing, I'm gonna look at you different. It's just a reality of it. Now, if I was her, I would try to identify, where is this coming from? Why are you being this way? Like, is it some debt that you own that you have to pay back? Like, like, that's kind of the pragmatic solution. Like, let me understand where you're coming from, because maybe then that, if I understand where you're coming from, maybe I can like make sense with it all. But if you're telling me, oh, this is just how I am, like, I don't like spending money, huge deal breaker, because I cannot live my life with somebody who, like, you making money, doing all these things, and then you're not willing to spend it. Like, we're on different pages. But if you tell me, hey, listen, I got this medical debt that I got to pay off, or I want to save for a house, or I have this dream that I want to accomplish, okay, then maybe I could see the vision, but I need to understand where it's coming from. Or maybe, my parents didn't have money, so now I'm so frugal. But I need to understand the psychic behind it. And once I do that, then now I can reevaluate how I'm going to proceed. But if you're just a cheapskate, just to be a cheapskate, and you don't want to spend the money, just don't spend the money, yeah, we're not on the same page.
So you say that there should be a goal, like there needs to be a reason as to
100%. Yeah, like,
to
justify that. Like, I'm, like, on a page where, like, okay, like, I want to save, I want to have this, I want to have that. I have a budgeting app, I'm track my expenses, but I'm also like someone that like likes to treat himself. Like, I try to find a balance in it all, because at the end of the day, nothing is guaranteed. You can walk down the street tomorrow and get hit by a bus, and then now the last thing you were dealing with is splitting a fucking Plan B pill. Like, it's like, dude, come on, like, there's like, look at the bigger picture. But it has to be a goal of mine. If you're telling me, hey, listen, I want to save 20 grand in the next 12 months because I want to have a down payment for this property, okay, I can see that. And then let me help you work towards that. What can we do to accomplish that goal? But you just being cheap just for the sake of it, I kind of have a little bit of a problem with that.
Okay.
What do you think? Because you could be like a little frugal, and you're a frugal guy.
I mean, I try to. It's funny because Christina and I, we were planning our a honeymoon.
Yeah.
For once we get married this year, and we were looking at some hotels and some of the places, right? And it's funny because her thought process it's comical. She was saying how, I've run out of points and miles for this trip, but that's fine because we've been literally focusing on all the points and miles being allocated to this honeymoon. Like, we wanted to make it the best possible. So this is the whole goal for these miles. We don't need it for anything else, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So we're looking at certain. I don't know if it was a hotel. I think it was a hotel or a flight, one of those two. But it's like, it's this. This is how much it costs. It's super expensive, but it's this much in miles. It's like, the new Chase credit card, I forgot which one it was. It has a bonus offer of 100,000 points. Yeah. She's like, you need to apply for it. And I'm like, okay, but for what? She goes, because of the points. I'm like, all right, how do you get the points? Oh, you got to spend $3,000 in order to get the points.
In 3 months or whatever.
And then I'm like, yeah, but this is how people get in debt. It's like, you're going to apply for another credit card just to get the points in order to get the points to get the thing. She's like, no, but you're going to be using the credit card anyways. Like, which is true. Like, you still have payments to make. But the fact that you're applying for a credit card in order to use that card to get enough points to then book a trip, it's like, we're jumping through hoops.
Okay, mental gymnastics to justify.
This is how, right. This is how, and then whatever. So we're talking about the credit card, whatever. We're looking at it. And she's like, yeah, we got to apply for the card. And we'll just put a bunch of shit on it so we can get the points. And I'm like, this is what I mean. She goes, no, I don't mean a bunch of shit. But it just goes to show, it's like, it's like, you go through all these things and it's like, sometimes it just doesn't make sense. So then I told her, like, when it comes to this, I say all this to say, I just want it to make sense. So we're looking at these hotels, for instance, and there was one that it was badass. We're looking at it, we're like, holy shit, this is nice.
Yeah.
But it was like $2,000 for like 4 days. And then she's like, but look how badass it is. It has its own pool, and you see it's overlooking the cliff. It's beautiful. She found another one that for the same 4 days, not as nice, but still very, very nice. Like, you look at it, you'd be like, yo, this is badass. Bro, $500.
A night?
For the same amount of time.
Yeah.
4 days.
Okay.
We're talking about 2,000 versus 500. So I'm like, look, I want this trip to be awesome. If it were up to me, I just want it to make sense. If you think that $2,000 room is worth the 2,000 versus the 500, because you look at the 500, you're like, yo, this is badass. But the 2,000, it has whatever, something extra. Like, if you can justify the difference being $1,500, and you think it's worth it, then you know what? Let's do what's gonna be. It's a honeymoon. Like, let's make it the best that we can.
Yeah.
But if it were up to me, I'd want it to make sense. Like, we're gonna be staying in all these different places. I don't think we need to be in the bougiest place on all of them. Like, we're not ballers like that to be able to do that. I get it's the honeymoon. I'm sure we're gonna get money back from people. But we're paying for this up front right now. Like, it has to make sense. Like, we need to be on the same page. So it's just like one of those things where it's like, in my point of view would be, these things have to make sense. Like, you can't just be like, oh, okay, no, because we're too frugal. Like, no, okay, we're going on a honeymoon. Like, we don't want to stay in like a hostel. We don't have to. Yeah. Like, let's stay somewhere nice. But I also don't want to stay in a penthouse of a Ritz-Carlton in, some of these places that's going to be that expensive. So that's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah, I get where you're coming from. I think you have your moments where it's like, hey, like, let me be the voice of reason. But then also it's like, hey, this is fun, let's do it. Like, I think there has to be balance to it, and I think you can accomplish
I will
that.
push. Like, it's the honeymoon. Let's push. Let's overdo it a little bit. I get it. And I mean, if Dave Ramsey were hearing this, he'd probably tell me, like, stay out of debt. Don't use your fucking credit card. Like, don't even apply for the fucking credit card. That's how people fucking. And like, right now I'm thinking, like, fuck, like, you got to pay this off. You got to pay that off. All these things. I'm hoping that, when the wedding happens and we get gifts, I'm hoping we get enough to be able to pay all that stuff off.
Yeah, you will be fine.
I'm sure we will, but just up front, you're looking at all these things, and it's like, okay, well, how much does that cost? Oh, okay, how much does this? She goes, oh, it costs this, but if we use miles or points, and it's like, okay, whatever. Just has to make sense. But
yeah, it has to make sense. The funny thing, just to go piggyback off of that's in terms of like the points and whatever. I very recently, like last year, like I had applied for a credit card because they were doing like really good special. Like, oh, you spent this much, you get $750 back. It was almost like $1,000. Oh, it sounds fucking great, free money. So got the card, got approved, ended up putting part of it for the trip for the proposal, like that I had last year, blah blah blah. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna get $750 back, which I did, but things ended up happening. You spend it, Next thing you know, the balance was so high that interest rate was like $120 a month, and then whatever. Long story short, like things happen, blah blah blah. You spend the money, you put it, you pay it off a little bit, but then there's still a balance. In the long run, I did the math. I ended up paying more in interest.
Sure.
Then I can. These people do like studies on this, right? So I got fucking bamboozled, and I learned my lesson. Like, they gave me $750, but I ended up paying like I don't know,
You- it's
$1,000 in interest. Let's say,
girl
whatever.
math, dude.
Yeah, do the math.
It's
Right.
literally girl math where
Yeah.
you're like, oh yeah, you're getting money back, but you also need to spend an ungodly amount in order
And
to
then
get it.
exactly, you have to spend it, and they count on you on spending it, going past the minimum, which at that point I think was like 5,000 or whatever. The interest on 5,000, if you look at 28% interest, if you don't pay it off right then and there before the things close,
Yeah.
you're gonna get raped, and then things happen, whatever. You don't pay it off right away, which they do research on this. They're not idiots. Long story short, I ended up paying more than I actually got back, and now I have this credit card that it's great, whatever. But
You got $750, but
I ended up paying.
you never saw that.
You never saw that because I ended up paying, let's say maybe like $1,000 on interest, whatever the fuck. But it was more than what I got. So now I learned my lesson. Like, I got bamboozled. But it was this funny thing that you brought it up. Like, oh, we could get this car. You rack it up. Next thing you know, you owe like $6,000 on it because you have to spend an X amount.
Right.
And then are you going to just put $6,000 to pay it off? No, you're going to pay this. And then next thing you know, they hit you with an interest. Right? 28% on $3,000, $4,000. It's a little bit of money. And then it adds up. You don't really pay it off right away. And that's how they get you. It's just kind of like, this kind of goes back to like, Dave Ramsey would, hey, they do this for a living. They know what they're doing. They wouldn't just give you free money just to give you free money. So it can make sense, but you have to be very, very careful and very strategic on how to do it. And sometimes, you can get carried away. Oh, honeymoon, well, next thing you know, you're spending $2,000. Like, for me, it's like, how much work do I have to put to make that money? If it takes me a month to make something that I'm going to utilize for, let's say, 3 days, 4 days, does that really make sense? For example, right? So if you can make $2,000 in a fucking half a day, yeah, you can spend it on, whatever.
Yeah.
But there's different categories, right? Different levels to this.
Yeah.
So just to kind of sprinkle that on top.
I like that. And while we were talking about like the whole like money situation, I came across another one actually. And I think this one's actually really good. And since I'm getting married this year, and then my fiance basically said like, hey, you're putting a baby in me immediately, right?
Okay.
And maybe even for you, talk about, kids and stuff like that, like what the plan would be, right? And here I'm looking at, wife wants a baby now, but we agreed to wait. Now we're arguing about it. They're both 23, so they're both very young. Well, arguably, right? I guess that's when you should be having kids, but whatever. My wife and I have been together since freshman year of high school, and we always agreed we'd wait until our late 20s to start trying for a baby. We both just finished our bachelor's degrees and are planning to pursue graduate school. The plan was to focus on our education, careers, financial stability first. After that, then the baby making. But lately, she's changed her mind. She wants a baby now. She brings it up often, sometimes jokingly, sometimes seriously, and it's starting to cause tension. Her parents are actually encouraging it, which only reinforces her change of mind. I was born when my parents were in a rough patch financially and was always advised to get financially stable first. So there's that difference in mindset.
Yeah.
We currently live together in our own apartment, but we're scraping by. To be quite frank, we have nothing in savings and no emergency fund, as we plowed through that for a surgery she got last year. But when I bring up money, she gets frustrated or says, no one is ever really ready for a baby. Or, we will make more money 9 months from now, as if that should convince me. I love her and I want to have kids with her, but just not right now. It feels like I'm being pushed into something we both agreed to delay, and I feel bad because she seems hurt by my hesitation. But I also feel like I'm being reasonable here. I don't want to bring a child into a situation where we're stressed, unstable, and unprepared. How do I navigate this without the whole relationship becoming about this one issue? Has anyone dealt with something similar? You are being reasonable. You guys are so young. Make the conversation about responsibility and preparedness.
Yeah.
Financial stability is the least of your worries, although it is a legitimate worry. When you have a kid, you will both need to drop out of grad school. I speak from personal experience when I say that you will not be able to keep up with the demands of grad school while raising an infant.
Wow.
Your wife is kidding herself if she thinks either of you are finishing your post-grad studies with the kid in tow. I know everyone in America is raised to believe that they can have it all, but they really can't. Life is a series of choices. If you and your wife can't agree on this one, then maybe you both need to find another partner who are on the same page. I got pregnant and had a baby at 21. My life came at a screeching halt. I had to get a factory job where I worked 65 to 80 hours a week. I never picked my education back up. Now I can only get by with low-paying jobs.
Fuck. I mean,
honestly, someone I worked with was determined she could work finished final year of uni, have step kids on weekend, and deal with newborn. I don't know what that says. Whatever. Nobody is ever ready, but you can be a hell of a lot more ready. What is your plan for childcare and a zillion other costs? Yeah, so.
Yeah, 100%. Listen, no one is ever completely 100% ready for to have children, but you could be in a good position to have a kid versus being in a bad position to have a kid. I like to say, listen, everything's a choice. Try to be in the other category where you're in a better position to have a kid, right? Either you have family that can help out, either you have opposite schedules where you or your partner is present to be able to raise a kid. I always tell my wife, like, what's the point of having kids if there's no one to raise them, if you have to put them in daycare most of the time or have somebody else watch them because both parents are at work. To me, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But they're young, early 20s from what I understand. So
23.
Okay, yeah, early 20s.
Just finished their bachelor's. They want to go to grad school.
If they want to go to grad school, I would say let's focus on grad school because you're right. Chances are one of you, if not both, will have to take a break. And then once you take a break, it's really hard to get back into it. I get it. There are certain, outliers who are able to finish and stick through it.
Sure.
Yeah. I think Claudia's sister, she finished law school. They had twins. Her sister had twins. And she was able to kind of navigate through that, which is a crazy challenge. But that doesn't happen all that often. So you have to really be strict with your time, your goals, and be honest with yourself. Hey, what do I want to get out of life? Who do I want to be? If you really love this person and you can say, hey, listen, we're in our early 20s, 23, 24, 22, whatever, can we wait to have kids for another 2 or 3 years till we finish grad school? If the answer is yes, which I think it is, like, what is going to, like, you're still young. Let's say you're 26, young as, like, we're 30s. We're in our 30s, we don't even have kids. So it's like, which now I think I saw somewhere that the average age to have your first kid is pushed into your 30s.
Like 31 or something.
Yeah, which is perfectly normal, which is perfectly fine. And giving her a financial status in this world, like, it makes sense. So I don't really see waiting another 3 years until you finish grad school as a deal breaker. Because you're having that conversation like, hey, when can we have a kid? Well, we can have let's say we have a kid after we finish grad school. Okay, now you as the wife who wants to have the kid or the girlfriend, whatever, hey, there's a finish line. It makes sense. It's reasonable. It's not like, oh, I'm not ready. I want to wait a little bit. Like this obscure goal that the guy has, like keeping you waiting. Like, no, like he says, hey, grad school it is. After we finish, let's have that discussion of having the kid afterwards. And once that happens and you still don't want to have a kid, okay, then that's an issue. But I think expecting to finish grad school at 23 is a reasonable request to delay having kids.
Yeah, the good thing is that
this day and age.
but they're also still very young.
That's
right,
what I'm saying.
Yeah, right. I'm agreeing with you. In a sense, it's like you still got time. So
yes.
It's not like you have to rush into it, and especially being so young. If you're in a position to have children and you're young, sure. But if you're not, look at your situation, look at your partner. And if this is the person you want to be the father of your kids and you want to build a family with this person, you may have to make certain sacrifices, and that sacrifice will be having a child right now.
Yeah.
I had a client the other day that she came to visit. We were talking about, kind of her profile. We were updating her stuff, reviewing her stuff, making sure everything was fine.
Yeah.
And, I looked at her, what she was doing, and I asked her, I'm like, oh, are you still doing this? She's like, no, I'm actually a stay-at-home mom now. And I'm like, oh, that must be nice. She's like, no, it's actually not all that nice. She goes, it kind of, not that it sucks, because she goes, oh, I'm grateful that I have children, but I used to have a business. But it was a home business that I was creating something for what it was. And she's like, I had to stop. I couldn't do it anymore. Like, I literally put it on pause because I had to take care of my children. And I tried to pick it back up again. And I thought that it was actually growing. Like, it was actually doing very well. But when I found out I was pregnant and I had to stop, like, I saw that it was finally getting traction after all the work that I put into it. And I had to close it down. I couldn't continue doing it anymore. Now I just raised my children. And she's like, I'm blessed, I'm the father of my child. We're together, like, my husband, like, we're still able to raise our children, and we're in a position that, I don't have to work. But, I had these aspirations, and she's like, kids are hard. Kids are tough. Like, they're not easy.
Yeah.
But, to the point where she had to stop her day-to-day stuff. Like, she had to stop her passion, whatever she was doing, in order to raise these children. So I look back to these 23, probably very naive people, especially her, that she's like, yeah, I want to have a kid. Like, let's just have a kid now. it's like, I don't think you understand what having a child entails until you have it. And then you're forced to really change your life because of the child that you bring into this world. So yeah, no, it's just a scary thought. Even us, that we're like, 30 something.
Yeah.
And we're even thinking like,
32.
fucking kid. But then at 23, it's I don't know, it's just very different. And it's funny because this kind of goes with where the red pill community kind of talks about, and I'm going to bring this home.
Okay, yeah.
Because the thing is, like, they tell you how you should just grind, focus on getting your money up, and when you do have your money, because this guy, he looks like he's a good guy, but he probably isn't financially where he needs to be in order to have a child. And this whole red pill community is like, dude, then you have all these women that want to date up, that they want to date someone who's financially stable, who they have this financial stability for the future and how they're going to provide for your family. Where at 23 years old, you don't fucking have that.
No.
It's like, no, focus on your stuff. And for us, it doesn't really matter what age. The older we get, like, there's ways for us to, crank up the sperm count again. You know what I mean? But for women, they're kind of against the clock after a certain time.
Yeah.
Where it's like, okay, well, if this 23-year-old girl, what she really wants is children, she's not going to get it from her 23-year-old guy. She's going to have to get it from someone else, maybe still 23 who makes bread, but most of the people who are financially stable are a little bit older. Maybe those are the guys. And that's kind of what they kind of preach, where it's like, listen, you get older, you focus on you. If you can't get with someone right now, you feel like you're stuck right now, get your paper, get your money, feel good about yourself, get to a position where money's not an option, and then you can pick whoever you want.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where this is where it's kind of lying. And at the end of the day, I want people to be happy with whoever it is that they choose to be with. You just have to make sure that you choose the right partner, because if you pick the wrong person, you want to be with them forever, or you want to have a kid with them.
Yeah.
The future is it's uncertain. So you want to make sure that when you take that path into that future with that person, it's someone that you can rely on, trust, and find that stability into that future.
So to close it off, I know we have to wrap it up. Yeah. What would be the solution for the couple in this position, like that is going through that? What would be your solid way to kind of solidify this?
I think so I'm a huge advocate for therapy. No matter what, I think it makes sense to talk to someone external. And it's funny because sometimes Christina and I, we'll get into little mini arguments just because it's her opinion versus mine. And I find that I try to use logic and reasoning with my arguments, where she might be emotional, or she will put the blinders on of what she wants because at that moment it makes sense. But then once we bring those conversations to other people, I don't think I'm trying to be difficult, but it just seems that it always goes against that what she wants, and the people will agree with me. And I'm like, dude, what are you thinking? You know what I mean? And she goes, oh, but I really want this, and how amazing would it be? And it's like, yes, but does it make sense? Sometimes it doesn't. And that's kind of where we'll get into this. I think what they should do is go to an outside source, speak with someone.
Yeah.
Professional would make sense, which we also have a partnership with BetterHelp. So if anybody wants to check it out, you can go to betterhelp.com/thecoffeebreakup. And you'll get a discount there on us for you speaking with somebody. But what's most important is when you speak to somebody that's not within your world, they'll be able to advise you, guide you, speak some experience into you.
Yeah.
And I would even say you should speak with more people who have children and let them explain to you what that's like to raise a child. Because everyone's going to tell you, man, it's amazing to have a child. It's beautiful. So rewarding. Like having this creature, you brought this thing into this world.
Yeah.
It's amazing. It's a miracle. But is it a miracle that you can handle?
That's good.
That's kind of where it's like, well, do you think that you can contribute to this miracle and make this a citizen and of the society to contribute to something when you're not even in a position that you can do that for yourself? So I think if they were to speak with other people, they'll see the different side. And if when I'm with my fiance and I go to her family, she sees the kids, that her nieces and nephews, and she's like, oh my God, all these kids are amazing. They're awesome. And it's like, you then speak with the parents and they look like they haven't slept in days. You know what I mean? And you ask them oh, how is it? He goes, dude, it's rough, this and that, whatever. Yeah. I have one of my friends he's got 2 kids and he's like, dude, you see how they are right now? They're super cool and they're super fun. This is maybe 3% of the time. 97% of the time, it's crazy. It's this, that. And I'm like, you see, that's the reality that she doesn't see. So she'll never understand. And I feel like if she had maybe some, not so much experience, but someone kind of telling them hey, I know it's nice, it's cute having a little baby, a little mini you, but life changes.
Yeah.
Whatever you have in the outlook, you can't plan for that. Future is undetermined. The past already happened. Focus on today, and that's all you got. I don't know. I think that may help. Just so she
that.
can really understand, okay, does this make sense? Does this not?
Yeah.
And then from there, you
Yeah.
go forward.
A lot of times it sounds great on paper, but how it really looks might be completely different. In this case, 100% will be different.
It's a shame that almost like owning a home is a luxury. I think having a child even is a luxury to this point. You know what I mean?
In this day and age, it is.
If the times weren't so difficult where the economy was where it was at, like, why not have children? Why not bring something else into this world? You know, the biggest reason why people aren't doing it is because they can't afford it.
Yeah.
Or they're too afraid to do it because they don't, it's uncertain. But it's like, you want to be able to, and you should be able to. We should be able to repopulate and have our own families and have a huge family to be able to do things. But I don't know. It's so hard right now. And the fact that people aren't doing it because of how difficult the economic times are, seems that I think there's a bigger problem.
Yes. I agree. Damn, it's a good way. That was a really good segment. I'm really happy we talked about it. And maybe people who listen to probably will have some form of experience about this matter. Maybe they can chime in, leave some comments, leave some feedback. Let us know how you would handle such a delicate, somewhat situation.
Yeah, we covered 2 stories. And if anybody can contribute anything about financially and what decisions you made, whether it was before having a child, or maybe you were in a bad position when you had the child and you're like, well, how did that result? Like, what came from that? And maybe you have a story of a cheapskate that you dated that you'd want to let us know. Maybe it's worse than splitting a plan B. If so, write to us on our Instagram at Coffee Breakup Pod. You can go to our TikTok, The Coffee Breakup. Send us an email at coffeebreakup.gmail.com. Coffeebreakup@gmail.com. And go to our website, coffeebreakup.com. Do stuff there.
Absolutely. That being said, love for you guys to tune in, and we're appreciative of you guys.
Love you.
See ya.